It's the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa podcast, brought to you, as always, by the good folks at Bet Rivers. Remember, for all your wagering needs, especially as we head towards this exciting time with the NFL weekend, and tomorrow we will have our Football Friday podcast. It'll be up normal time with all the football games for the weekend. As you know, there's a very, very cold and tough weather coming in Kansas City, so Miami is going to have to do something warm weather teams never do, and that is not only win on the road, but win on the road in the playoffs when it's going to be 0 in Kansas City Saturday night, and that's the game that is streamed on Peacock, as you know, for all of you who are out there looking for it. It'll be very interesting to see how many buys they get for the one game. I think the cheapest way, other than, I know some of you out there can find it. You know, everyone tells me that you can find these streaming things if you know how to look for them. I'm the last person in the world who's going to figure that out. But if you don't have Peacock, and I'm someone who has all the channels, so that's just me. But I think you can get it. I think it's going to cost you $5 to get the game, $5.99 to get the game, a one-time shot. So it's totally unfair, and it's outrageous that they would do that with a postseason game. But it is what it is. This is a very odd year with NFL openings, obviously made more so by the news that Bill Belichick will now be on the market as expected. He and Kraft have taken the high road. Belichick had 1 year left on his contract. There will be no compensation. He's allowed to go get another job. The Pats will move on. They're moving on. They have met in the last week. They have settled things. It's over. He's leaving. Obviously leaves with an incredible legacy there. That obviously went downhill in the last couple of years without Tom. But, hey, the bottom line is the guy built a dynasty. That's all there is to it. He built a dynasty. Now he wants to pass Schuler's record, and he wants to go to another team. He's going to coach. He's not the only very talented guy over 70 years of age out there available. Saban yesterday stuns everyone. You know, Belichick and Saban are very close. Saban worked for Belichick, if you go back in the early years. They've remained very, very close. And obviously, Belichick's success in the NFL has mirrored Saban's brilliant success at Alabama. He retires yesterday from Alabama after doing something that I really didn't think was even humanly possible. That was equaling the record that Bear Bryant had at Alabama. I didn't even think any human could do that. Saban did it. He matched what Bryant did. He was every bit as impressive as Bryant was. So, and Bear there walked on water. Those are going to be very, very big shoes to fill. I'll get back to Alabama in a minute. But right now you have Belichick, who wants to coach again. You have Pete Carroll, who was forced out, has been offered an advisory job with Seattle, but didn't say no when he was asked if somebody would give him a job. Now, if somebody had a team that they thought was on the verge of just making it, Pete Carroll might be attractive for a year or two. I doubt he gets another job. Belichick's different. He's going to get another job. The two places that you've been hearing, all I heard for the last year was Washington. All I've heard the last 10 days is Atlanta. So watch Washington, but really watch Atlanta, because there seems to be a lot of thought that he might be headed to Atlanta. And Atlanta's got a good team, and they need a quarterback. They can get Russell Wilson maybe, but they need a quarterback. Feels if the Bears move on, they desperately need a quarterback. The rest of the team is really good, and it's ready to win. There's no question. They lost a lot of games this year they could have won, and they went 7-10 all 3 years. Under Smith, he's gone now, and Belichick to Atlanta is gaining a lot of steam. You also have Vrabel on the market. Is he headed to New England? Probably him or Mayo. I don't know which way they'll go. I think they might go Vrabel. Vrabel's out there. He's very close to the Crafts. He's a big player there. He won there. He knows the place. He loves the place. He's a good coach. It might be Vrabel. It's either Vrabel or Mayo in New England. So you have Saban, who I don't think would coach again, although he might draw an offer. You have Belichick, who's going to get offers. And you have Carroll. Does he get an offer? They're all over 70 years old. They're all spry. I don't get the idea that Saban wants to coach again. I think he'll do TV. Carroll, like I said, I think he'd coach in a minute, but I don't think anybody's going to give him a job. You know, they all want to hire young coaches, and nobody wants to hire a coach again in 2 years. And that's what you're looking for. It's got to be a special situation. Belichick is a special situation. Somebody's going to hire him. He wants to break Shula's record. He wants to coach again. He's going to get hired. There's no question about it. Is it Atlanta? We'll see. Is it Washington? We'll see. See what happens. But I think he will coach again now that he's leaving New England officially. Now the word comes down, officially leaving the Pats after all those years. So it's a very, very unusual set of circumstances. Then you have Harbaugh sweeping in. He's most likely done at Michigan anyway. He finally fulfilled the promise. It took him a long time. Forget that it took 9 years. Forget what happened early on. It doesn't matter, and none of it matters now. He was there 9 years. He won his national championship. He leaves now with that legacy that he finally got it done, and that's what he had to do. He had to deliver his alma mater a national championship, and he did. He beat Ohio State 3 years in a row after not being able to beat Urban Meyer. He now has delivered a national championship, so he can leave, and all's good forever. He's always going to be welcome back. They'll always have a plaque or a statue to him, and he'll be very happy with that, okay? He's coming into the NFL, I think, and a lot of rumblings that, and this is atypical for them because the Chargers usually don't pay coaches. They're going to have to pay Harbaugh, but there's a lot of talk about Harbaugh going to the Chargers, 1, or the Raiders, 2. I hope Antonio Pierce gets the Raider job. If Harbaugh takes the Chargers, I think Antonio Pierce gets the Raiders. I think if the Raiders don't hire Harbaugh. So Harbaugh's looking at the Chargers and the Raiders from what I understand. Okay. Carolina has got like a laundry list. They're going to hire a young offensive coach. I don't think there's any question about it. The guy who is the flavor of the month there is Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator for Detroit. Detroit coordinators are going to be hot this year. That's Aaron Glenn on defense, and especially Ben Johnson on offense. The other hot offensive assistant now is Bobby Slowick with Texans. First year as an offensive coordinator, comes out of the Niner group, like a lot of these coaches do. That's been a real pipeline for coaches. He comes out of there. He's done a very good job in Houston. He's being mentioned as a head coach. Ben Johnson's going to get a job. I don't think there's any question. If I had to place him somewhere, I'd place him in Carolina, but we'll see. Raiders, you're hearing Harbaugh and Pierce. Chargers, you're hearing Harbaugh. And you're hearing Ben Johnson. Seattle, I think Dan Quinn's going to Seattle. And listen, I'm one of those guys who thinks Quinn is better suited to be a coordinator than a head coach. Let's see. He's got to prove otherwise. So he's going to get a chance. He wants to coach again. A lot of rumblings. He's going there. Tennessee, I don't know where they're going for a coach now that Vrabel's gone. Washington, he's going to first hire someone to run the organization. That's his way. And then they'll hire a coach. And then Atlanta, you're hearing all this Belichick rumbles very strong in the last week or so. And that gets stronger and stronger now by the day. We'll see if that winds up being the case. As far as Alabama, obviously those are enormous shoes to fill. When you look at what he did, the consistency, winning 10 or more games every year, winning SEC titles almost every year, playing in the playoffs almost, all the time, doing what he did, winning 6 titles there, the incredible run that he had with Alabama, and played a great schedule, played a lot of top teams, I think he played 100 games over teams that were ranked. I mean, that's a lot. That is really a lot. He did a brilliant job. There's no way around it. The guy who fits is the Oregon coach, Dan Lenny. Problem there is, he fits perfectly in every way. Background, everything, where he is in his career, everywhere. Coaches who are in demand and who are wanted do not leave Oregon. Why? Well, you all know why. Phil Knight. Okay? Oregon is Nike school, is the Nike school. It's Hill Night School. He's the man there, and they don't let coaches go. They don't let anybody go if they want them because they won't be outbid. Now, here's the deal. He has an astronomical buyout, somewhere around $20 million as a buyout. That's a lot. Even for Alabama, that's a lot. That's a huge buyout. Now, Kalen DeBoer, who's a very hot coach and a very good coach, who just took Washington to the national championship game, I don't see him as a Bama guy. He's from South Dakota. He's never been in the South. He doesn't have any background in the South. He's got like I think a $10 or $12 million buyout for his contract. I think he stays where he is unless he goes to the pros, which I don't think he will yet. I think Washington, he'll stay. He's getting paid there. He's making they'll double his contract there, maybe more. I think he'll stay there. I'd be surprised if he left. But Lanning's the guy, but I don't think that it'll work because at Oregon, like I said, Phil Knight doesn't let guys leave, and the buyout's astronomical. So it might be somebody else with a background. You know, I don't see Dabo. I don't think so. I don't think he fits. Despite his background, I don't think Dabo is going to go there from Clemson. Lane Kiffin, I think, is possible. I think that's possible. That'd be interesting. He's a little volatile, his personality-wise, but it could happen. But Lanning is the guy if they can get him out of the deal. But it's very hard to get a guy away from Phil Knight. Very, very, very difficult. So we'll see what happens there with Bama. But back to the pros, you have Carolina, Raiders, Chargers, Seattle, Tennessee, Washington, Atlanta, New England. And like I said, you have some big, big names. Very rare to have these kind of big names. Belichick, Carroll, Saban, Vrabel, Harbaugh, all lurking. Like I said, I don't think Saban's coaching again. I think he's retired. I think he's going to be doing TV probably on College Game Day. I would expect that he'll get an offer for that. He's good on TV. He likes to play golf. He's loaded. I think he's done. Belichick wants to coach again. Like I said, Atlanta, Washington, that's what you're hearing there. Carroll, I think he would take a job in a second. I just don't know if anybody would offer him one. Vrabel, I think, is the favorite in New England, along with Mayo. And Harbaugh, you're hearing Chargers, Raiders. And like I said, I hope Antonio Pierce gets that job. I think he earned it, but Harbaugh is going to get a job first. We'll see what happens there. So you got a lot of big names orbiting right now, older guys, and then the young guys are really what people want. Young offensive coaches. That's really want. They want the guys in the Johnson, Slowick mold. That's what they want. There are some defensive guys out there that are going to get hired, though, too. Quinn's going to probably go to Seattle. Flores should get another job without any question. Aaron Glenn could be hot this year. Morris is another one. But I think Flores should get a job. He's a head coach. He's a terrific coach. He did a terrific job in Minnesota. He should be a head coach again. I think he will be. I know the offensive guys are always in vogue, especially if you have a young quarterback you want to develop like Carolina does. That's why Johnson, Slowick makes sense in Carolina. It sounds like he wants to hire a young offensive guy. That's what you're hearing as far as that. He's not going for one of the big-name guys. He hasn't been mentioned circling around any of the big-name guys. Now, that doesn't mean he doesn't wake up this morning and say, you know what, I think I want Saban to coach my team for a couple of years. I don't know if there's an offer that would attract Saban. I would doubt it, but hey, you never know with these things. So name guys, despite their age, they've had enormous success. I mean, let's be honest, Vrabel's had success. Carroll's had big success, and Belichick and Saban have had, otherworldly success. So it's become a very wild year as far as the coaching goes. Your emails when we return.
You're listening to the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network.
Mike Francesa podcast on this Thursday. We will put our podcast up for the playoffs. Our Football Friday podcast tomorrow will be up by noon with all the playoff action. that begins. These next couple of weekends are tremendous. This weekend you have wall-to-wall action this Saturday, Sunday, and, of course, Monday with the Browns and Texans starting it off on Thursday. At Saturday at 4:30. Right now, the Browns are 2.5-point favorite. Dolphins and Chiefs will play in the frigid weather in Kansas City in prime time. The Chiefs are now a 4.5-point favorite. The Steelers start the triple-header on Sunday, traveling to the Bills. The Bills, a 10-point favorite, as they will meet in Buffalo. The 4:30 game on Fox on Sunday is the Packers and the Cowboys, so a lot of marquee action there as the Cowboys, who have been so good at home this year, get a chance to stay home and thrill their fans, their legion of fans, with a big home victory. The Rams and Lions will play in prime time, another attractive game. That's 8:15 on NBC on Sunday night. And then Monday night, the Eagles, who didn't limp into the playoffs, they fell into the playoffs. They landed in the playoffs. They didn't even walk in the door, okay? Here was the playoff threshold, and the Eagles were pushed up the stairs and pushed in the door, okay? They didn't even have enough momentum to climb up the stairs themselves. They were just pushed in the door because of what they did early in the season. They have been dreadful. They've been the worst defensive team in the league the last 4 weeks, and they finished up against the easiest schedule in the league and couldn't win a game. Remember, Mike Francesa podcast at gmail.com. Here we go. Mike starts us off. What are Patino's chances of getting the Johnnies into the tournament this year? They held on against Providence last night, an undermanned Providence team because they didn't have Hopkins, but Johnnies got out fast 20-5, and then they held on for dear life, and actually Providence had a shot down 2 to win it, and it came up short in the final seconds as St. John's missed some free throws. The one thing, St. John's has got depth. They're going to make the NCAA tournament this year. The one problem they have is they don't have a pure point guard. But they will make the NCAA tournament. Doug, how much blame does Lawrence get for the Jags season going south? I like Lawrence. I've always liked Lawrence. I think he's going to be a premier quarterback. You want to call it stubbornness, you want to call it bravado. He stayed on and played through injuries that should have shelved him. His play fell off dramatically, and he turned the ball over a lot during those injuries. He also was missing key weapons in his receiving core, and it hurt him a lot. But he turned the ball over way too much. They fired the defensive coach. They were very unhappy with the defense down the stretch, but really the biggest thing down the stretch was he wasn't healthy, and they turned the ball over too much. He deserved some blame, but you know what? He got very unlucky. He got a lot of injuries. He got 3 or 4 major injuries in the last, and only missed 1 game, and played hurt the last month, and it really hurt his play. I think he'll be fine. I think the team will be fine. Josh, with so many teams struggling to find stability at the quarterback position, it sure looks like the Packers have done it again with Jordan Love. I agree. There's going to be growing pains at times. There's going to be some bad games. Maybe there's one this week against the Cowboys. He has a lot of talent, though, and he's the real thing. So, yeah, they have found another quarterback, no question. Brad, do the Knicks have a legitimate shot at a title if they add one more piece? Well, exactly who is that piece? Are they a contending team for the title as presently built? They are not. First of all, too many people were critical of the trade too quickly. They've played very well since the trade, but here's the bottom line. They are very much, despite the fact that Hartenstein's played very well, they are short a big man with Robinson's injury. And they desperately need a second-unit scorer now that they don't have Quickly. So that means that they have to separate Randall and Brunson more. And they have to be on the floor, one or the other be on the floor, because they need their scoring in both units, the first unit and the second unit. The second unit scoring is just not strong enough right now. And they need another offensive player that would aid them in adding enough firepower into the second unit. Now, in recent games, they've gotten it from guys, but that doesn't mean they're going to keep getting it. And if they could count on Grimes being consistent and getting the firepower they've gotten from a couple of different places, otherwise they might not be as such a need. But I still think overall, just to be very solid, they need more scoring on the second unit, and they need some size if Robinson's not coming back. Number two, you say one more piece. Who is the piece? I mean, they are not yet a championship team because Brunson is a great second player on a title team. He is that next level. I've always loved Brunson. He is that next level player, though. He is that next level NBA player who's not the superstar, is that star level that can be the two guy in a championship team, like Lillard will be to the Freak. Okay? You need that other guy. They don't have that. Now, a lot of people are divided on Randall. I'm not a big Randall guy. I understand that he's productive at times, especially during the regular season. I don't love him. I would deal him. But there's not a lot of people they can get right now that are going to elevate them. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think that they are clearly a playoff team. I think they're playing very well now. I think they got a guy who fits what Thibodeau wants to do, adding a premier defender as they did. I've always liked Dante. You know, I think that there's a cohesion and an element of hard work that goes with Brunson and Dante and Hart, but they're still a cut below. They're clearly a playoff team. They're a cut below a championship team, and they still are going to need to make that one deal to get over the top, but it's tricky. It really is. Kevin, what is up with the Mets? I love Cohn, but it's like Stearns has gone to the Salah School of Management. I don't know what the Salah School of Management is exactly. All I know is he doesn't win games. I think what Stearns has sold Cohn on is this. Unless the guy was a proven can't-miss player, like they thought Yamamoto was, we are not going to just throw money at people. I need a year to evaluate what we have in the organization and on the field that I like to build my team. I want to evaluate this team for a year, and then I will know exactly where I want to add in a premium way. The Alonso thing's going to hang over their head all year. There's no question about that. They have to make a final decision on Alonso. Do they want to pay him? Do they not want to pay him? Because they're going to have to pay him a lot of money. I think they should pay him. I think that kind of power and the way he fits in here, I would not deal. I would not fool with that. I would keep him. They might have a different design, but I think what they want to do is really evaluate on the fly here, hope they can be competitive, hope they can plug things in as they go along during the season here. But I think they want to really evaluate to Stern's eye what they want and what they want to keep, what they want to discard, and where they want to spend their money. And to be honest, I know it doesn't fit everybody's timetable, but it's not a dumb way of doing this. And I have not been impressed with Stearns at all yet. I didn't like the way the organization handled the Buck firing, what happened with Epler, or anything they've done so far. But if he needs a year to analyze exactly what they have, that's not a dumb way to approach this. He's looking to build something that will be good for a decade. To do that, you're not going to do it in 15 minutes. If you think you are, you're out of your mind, and you're not going to do it just by throwing money at free agents. So it's not a terrible way. Now, let's be honest. The Mets are they are incredibly weak in terms of starting pitching. We'll see where they get in the innings from this year. You go into a season, and you go 162 times 9, and you say, I got to fill these innings. And you try to fill them with quality arms, and they are not even close. Sean, can you explain what is so special about Barkley? I don't see it, but the people on TV keep saying it. Listen, Barkley's a talented back, but backs are about how they are being utilized. You can have a talented back. Like right now, Hall is as explosive a back as there is in the NFL. But he still is never going to be the most important part of the offense. The quarterback is. And even a dynamic wide receiver is more important because that's the way the game has unfolded now. That doesn't mean you can't get a lot out of your back. You can. But you still need multiple backs. It's not a one-back league. And that position has changed. It's still nice when you can hand the ball to a guy and give him 30 carries, and if he can get 180 yards, God bless him. Score a couple touchdowns. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's never going to be what you build your team around. The Giants, many times, have built their team around Barkley, which is not the way to do it. And it's not what they're doing now. And as he gets older, he's not the same player explosive-wise. You have to watch when backs get older what you pay them. And I think there's a good chance he won't be happy with how this sits. But I don't think the Giants going forward feel that Barkley is going to be the most important part of their team. If they do, they're making a bad mistake. We'll see you later.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Francesa podcast on the Bet Rivers Network.